HOA Karen cut my lock to snatch my Jeep. Didn't know it belonged to a police task force. The shocking beginning. I woke up to the sound of metal snapping, and it wasn't a dream. It was a warm Saturday morning, and I was enjoying my first coffee of the day, when a sharp metallic clank broke the quiet. Curious, I peeked through the blinds toward the parking lot, and nearly spit my drink. There she was in the infamous HOA Karen, dressed in a loud floral dress, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose, and holding a massive pair of bolt cutters like she was starring in an action movie. She was hunched over my Jeep, cutting through the heavy-duty lock I had put on its wheel. At first, I thought maybe there was an emergency. Maybe my Jeep had rolled or was blocking something. But then she looked up and I caught that smug little smile. I knew right then she wasn't helping. She was taking my Jeep. I hurried outside, phone in hand. "Karen, what are you doing?" I demanded. She straightened, clearly unbothered. "This vehicle is in violation of HOA guidelines," she said. "It's going to be impounded. I'm just saving the towing company some trouble." I blinked. "Violation? It's parked in my assigned space." She waved a hand dismissively. "That lock isn't allowed. It makes the neighborhood look unsafe. This is for everyone's good." Her confidence was unbelievable. She actually believed she could cut my lock and take my Jeep simply because she didn't like how it looked. "Karen, you can't just take it. This isn't HOA property." "Oh, I can," she shot back, "and I am." With one final squeeze, the lock snapped. She tossed it onto the grass, yanked open the Jeep's door, and slid inside. What she didn't know was that this wasn't just any Jeep. It was on loan from the police task force and loaded with hidden cameras, GPS tracking, and a silent alarm that had already alerted law enforcement the moment she turned the key. Karen thought she was teaching me a lesson. In reality, she just made the biggest mistake of her life. The Karen showdown. I rushed outside, heart pounding, adrenaline kicking in like I'd just stepped into a live police sting. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I yelled, my voice cracking just enough to betray the fact that I was half in shock. Without missing a beat, Karen turned toward me with that infamous glare, the one that said, "I've memorized the HOA handbook and I'm prepared to weaponize it." She planted one hand on her hip and announced, "This vehicle has been parked in violation of HOA guidelines. It's going to be impounded. I'm just saving the towing company some trouble." I stared at her, stunned. First of all, my Jeep was legally parked, every inch inside the designated space. Second, this wasn't just any Jeep. It was on loan from the local police task force for a special undercover community project. Third, and maybe most importantly, since when did Karen have the legal authority to personally impound vehicles like some suburban sheriff? "Karen, you can't just take someone's vehicle," I said, trying to sound calm, though my pulse was hitting triple digits. She smirked, that slow, self-satisfied grin that made me wonder if she'd practiced in the mirror. "Watch me." And then, like a scene ripped straight out of a low-budget action movie, she snapped the final link of my parking lock with a bolt cutter. The sound echoed off the surrounding buildings like a gunshot. My neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering. Before I could move, she yanked open the driver's door and climbed in, adjusting the seat as if she owned the thing. I stepped forward. "Karen, I'm warning you, that's not just my vehicle. It's part of an official operation. You could be interfering with police business." She laughed. "Police business, please. You're just trying to scare me." I pulled out my phone. "Fine, let's see if the police agree." Her eyes narrowed, the smirk fading for the first time. And that's when I realized something important. Karen might know the HOA rules inside out, but she had no idea what kind of trouble she was about to be in, the mistake of her life. Now here's the thing about this Jeep. From the outside, it looked like a regular off-road ride. A bit dusty, some mud splashes, nothing special. But inside, oh boy, this was no ordinary weekend warrior's vehicle. The police had outfitted it with top-tier surveillance gear, a compact control console disguised as a cup holder, hidden cameras embedded in the rearview mirror, a GPS tracker tucked under the dashboard, and most importantly, a silent alarm system, so advanced it could ping law enforcement before the driver's seatbelt even clicked. And Karen? She didn't know any of that. She walked up to it with the same confidence she used to scold kids for riding bikes on the sidewalk, one hand on her hip, the other gripping the keys she had somehow acquired. She slid into the driver's seat like she owned the place. Without hesitation, she turned the key. Click. The engine didn't roar to life immediately. Instead, a tiny sequence of lights flickered on the dash, something only trained eyes would recognize. Within seconds, a discreet signal shot across the airwaves straight to the police task force monitoring the Jeep. To them, this wasn't just a vehicle being tampered with. This was an active sting operation in motion. But to Karen, this was her big moment, the climax of her imaginary crusade against neighborhood disorder. She thought she was teaching me a lesson for daring to park in a spot she deemed off limits. I stepped closer, trying one last time. Karen, you really don't want to do this. She rolled her eyes so hard I could almost hear it. Oh, please. What are you going to do? Call the HOA on me? I opened my mouth to explain, but it was too late. The engine gave a low growl, and somewhere far away, a police dispatcher was already giving the green light for a response team. Karen sat up straighter, clearly pleased with herself, while I braced for the sound I knew was coming. 30 seconds later, the quiet morning air was shattered by the approaching wail of sirens, and that's when Karen's self-satisfied smile finally froze. It was, without a doubt, the mistake of her life. The fallout. Karen wasn't arrested on the spot, but the officers made it very clear she wasn't walking away from this without consequences. She was handed a court summons for trespassing, destruction of property, and attempted theft. The HOA board, which she had lorded over for years, had no choice but to remove her from her position after this stunt. Even the most loyal rule followers couldn't defend what she'd done, especially when the story began circulating through the neighborhood like wildfire. The gossip spread faster than free coffee at a community meeting. People whispered about the Jeep incident at mailboxes, shared exaggerated retellings at backyard barbecues, and even posted sly memes on the neighborhood Facebook group. It was impossible to walk down the street without hearing some version of, "Did you hear about Karen and the Jeep?" As for me, I got my Jeep back, completely intact thanks to the hidden police tech inside. The officers even thanked me for keeping my cool and avoiding a full-blown confrontation. To top it off, they upgraded the Jeep's security system, just in case Karen decided to test her luck again. A week later, Karen attempted what she called an apology. She stopped me outside my driveway, wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy, and said she was just enforcing the rules for the good of the community. It wasn't an apology so much as a self-justification, but I nodded politely. We both knew the damage was already done. From that day on, her once commanding presence in HOA meetings evaporated. The woman who used to march through the neighborhood with a clipboard now had to endure neighbors chuckling and pretending to hide their car keys whenever she walked by. Some even joked about installing Karen-proof locks on everything from mailboxes to lawnmowers. The moral of the story? If you see a Jeep with a heavy lock on it, maybe, just maybe, don't try to play repo agent, especially if you have no idea who it belongs to. And as for Karen, she learned the hard way that sometimes a lock isn't just protecting a vehicle. Sometimes it's protecting you from making the single worst mistake of your life.